Wow, I tell you. I keep coming over here. It's so freaking hot out. Hey everybody, Tim here from the Tactical Defender. Outside in the evening, sun's going down. It's it's hot. It's very humid, but the minute that sun drops down behind the hill, the trees there, what a difference. I mean, what a difference. But I'm out. Got some a new Kydex sheath, low profile, very simple design to attach to my pack. Working on this, testing this, working on a review for this. Just actually got this yesterday, and I was going out for a hike today, and I wanted to bring the SCHF 43, aka Jessica X, and I love that sheet. It's nice. So much better than the Kydex, as you know. I mean the nylon that comes with a lot of the Schrade knives. Beautiful knives. The new Schrade knives are gorgeous, but I just don't do nylon sheaths. I just don't. And I like Kydex, and ordered that. Very, very inexpensive, very simple. Just the way I like it. But it is gorgeous out tonight. Hot. But I know I already said it, but the minute the sun, now I've been here for about 2.5 hours. I walked around the ridge, the ridge of this sand pit, and I ended up over there, but deep in the pine trees where I filmed recently, a couple weeks, or last weekend or the weekend before. And you get a little bit of a breeze, and the sun's not on you, and it's bearable. It's nice. I was actually there for quite a while, like an hour and a half. I decided to come back over here because I saw that the sun went down, so my little spot here among the rocks will be beautiful, and it really is. I hear a dirt bike. So as I'm coming down the hill, almost head over heels, but I'm coming down the hill, and I come out onto the road, which isn't really used anymore. You're not supposed to come in here with cars, although you can, but you're not supposed to. I don't. And Hubbardston, the town I live in, one of their finest, was driving by, and he saw me coming down the hill, and I thought it was the cop that I saw last time when I was right over here. And it wasn't. It was another cop. And I got all my stuff on me, and you know me, the stuff I use and carry. I carry a knife right here. It's not your normal hiker gear, right? Hiker products. And I come out onto the road. I'm kind of stomping my feet because my feet are covered in dirt, sand, dust, and stuff. And I'm going to make my way over here, and the cop come pulling up behind me and slowed. And I saw him, and I waved, and now I know I'm allowed in here, So he stopped, and hey, how you doing? You taking photos? And a little bit, and I told him what I do. And we just ended up having like a half-an-hour conversation about gear and products, and it's really not. I know I've said it before. I hate the state that I live in. I really do. I don't like the state. Which, by the way, they just banned assault weapons here in this Massachusetts where I live. Yep, they banned assault weapons. Now you can keep, for now, you can keep what you already own, and luckily I already have my AR-15, but they did it. They banned assault weapons. Now, they've done it before, and I believe it lasted 10 years, give or take. Hopefully, they're fighting it. I don't know what's going to happen, but they're fighting it. It's sad. It really is. And, oh, my God, is it hot. So, we're sitting there, we're talking, and he's got an AR-15 with a 30-round magazine right next to him, and we're talking about those, and he is the third police officer that I talked with that is pro-gun. As long as you're licensed, you know, and you went through the process, you know. So I got no problem with people with a gun. I didn't tell him this time I was carrying. Last time we had that conversation with another police officer, and I didn't say anything this time. And he said, I got no problem with it. You know, we talked about what's been going on. And, you know, I don't know what to say. I really feel like I should address what's been going on and what is going on. I try not to. I really want to, but I try not to because I have some really strong opinions about that. And I don't know, I think a lot of you would probably agree with what I say, but because if you're watching my channel, you can't be anti-gun and be into my channel. Not that I have a lot of guns on my channel, or any guns on my channel for that matter, but you know, I mean, if you're into a lot of the stuff that you see that I have or I'm into or I review, you're probably, even if you don't own a gun yourself, you're probably into guns. You know, you don't have a problem with guns. I'm guessing. And he's wearing a vest on the outside of his shirt, not underneath. And he's got some pockets on it with other stuff and some extra mags. And I mean, you know, with our current situation, with the way things are going, they are looking more tactical, which I'll be honest, I don't have a problem with. I really don't. I don't have a problem with our police looking or having military stuff or looking military. I don't have a problem with it. Some of you may disagree with that. I don't have a problem with it. And he was telling me about a situation. I mean, I live out of the city. I mean, look where I'm out in the woods. Literally, there's nothing but 3 miles of woods between where I am right now and my house. I drove here, by the way. Keep hearing something back there, but it's nuts. You know, I've had all the times in my life I've been pulled over quite a few times. I've only been ticketed a couple times. Because I'm always doing just over the limit, like 5-10 miles over. I'm not doing like, you know, 100 and a 30 or 80 and a 55. 5-10 miles, especially now that I have children. I won't do that. I don't play like that with kids in my car. And there's been a few. And when you live in a little town, I drive through multiple small little towns to get to the town I live in when I'm going to work or from work or wherever. And I've been pulled over a handful of times because a lot of times they don't have nothing else to do, you know. There's very little, if any, crime out here. And it just happens that, especially the town I live in, there almost isn't a house without a gun in it. There's a lot of gun owners in my town. Now, does that have any correlation between, you know, is there any correlation between, you know, everybody has a gun and zero crime? Maybe, maybe not, you know. If you see something come up over the sand dunes behind me, let me know, okay? So, look, a lot of you, especially you guys that have guns, you know and I know, an armed society is a polite society, right? That the cities and or states with guns, especially a lot of guns, with good constitutional rights and laws, and they follow that, they have less crime, less shootings overall than the cities or states that have really strict shooting gun laws and so on. It's a fact. You can't dispute that. You know, one time in my life, I'm kind of jumping the gun here. So we had a talk. The other cop that was here, he'd come up. That's his job, to stop and say, how you doing? What's going on? You know, everything all right? And he asked me, are you drinking? Because that is what he was told to do. That's what he was told to patrol through here. They don't want people here partying and drinking and or on dirt bikes. It is private land, but we do have permission to come here, hike here, and do our thing. But there's certain law, you know, and I remember, and very respectfully, my last video when I talked about the officer that come up and asked me, you know, and one of my subscribers, again, very respectfully said, you know, that's BS and something to the effect of it's none of his damn business what you're doing and blah, you know. So look, I'm not all, you know, government, state, run my life. You know, I am, if you know me, I respect rules and laws, whether I like them or not. If it is a law, I will respect it, whether I like it or not. But I'm also the first respectfully to question authority. I do. I question authority respectfully. When he asked me, are you drinking? What are you doing? I told him, no. I don't drink anyway. I've never touched a sip of alcohol my entire life. I'm telling you, there's something behind me. I don't want to really get into the politics stuff here and the race thing. And, you know, one time in my life, I had a state trooper pull me over. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. But she was trying her ass off to try to get me on more, to make what was already bad, and I was doing it. I had my inspection sticker expired, and she pulled me over for that. But she didn't want to leave it at that. She was trying really hard to turn it into something else. And I just, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am, I want you out of the car, yes, ma'am, you know. And this, I'm talking like 20 years ago. 26 years ago. That's a long time ago, you know. Yes, ma'am. You got it, you know. Stand against the hood of my car. You got it, you know. She went through my car like crazy. She, you know, there's nothing there, you know. And I know, I have a good friend of mine who hates it when I say, you know, he's the guy that puts the window down this much. He's the guy that says, I know my right, you know, and he's, you know, there's a fine line, you know. I've never had my rights trampled on. I go home to my family every night, every time. Once in a great while, if I get pulled over, I will actually get a ticket for whatever it is I was doing. And most of the time, they're just like, please take it easy. Have a good day. That's it. That's all. You know? I don't want to get into what's been in the news and stuff, but what I don't understand is why people, when the cop rolls up, because they're called, they're doing their job. When the cop rolls up, that spot right there, in your car, behind your car, at your car, that's not the place, it's getting dark out, that's not the spot to have judge and jury. That's not the spot to plead your case and argue your case and discuss rights and law. That's not the spot. And that's what happens with a lot of this stuff we see in the news, how people are getting shot. They're trying to dispute or argue their case right there. That's not the spot, and I don't understand that. Now, that woman that pulled me over, the state trooper, she had every right to. She really was doing her best to make it worse, the situation. Not that it was that bad. And you know, I could have argued, but that wasn't the spot. Needless to say, my car got towed. It got towed because my inspection sticker was like way beyond inspection, or something to the effect. It was a long time ago, and I think I spoke with a police officer, a friend of mine, just very recently about this, and he said that there used to be this. I'm going to say it wrong, but this misconception among police officers that if your inspection sticker out, then your insurance. So because she did end up taking my car, towed my car, and gave me a ride to wherever, you know. And then, you know, and I had to work it out and fight it later. But that wasn't the spot. And I really do believe that this is what happens in a lot of these, not all, I'm just generalizing. these situations where people, you know, the cop rolls up and the guy's doing something he isn't supposed to be in the first place, and then it just gets way out of control because, you know, I know my rights, and you that's not the spot. And you can't tell me I'm wrong, because at least quite a few cases lately and a few in the last few years where if they just, okay, sir, absolutely, sir, you got it, sir. Okay, we're going to jail for the night. Okay, you know. Then you go in front of the judge. Then you plead your case. Doing it in front of the cop on the street corner, at your car, your kids are in the car, whatever. That's not the place. Anyway. I don't know. I always say yes, sir, no, sir, or ma'am. That's the way I was brought up. Yes, and it's still to this day. If I see somebody, I talk to a guy, okay, yes, sir, all right. I just say it. My boss. You got a boss? Okay, boss, you know. I never call my boss by his name. It's always sir or boss. He hates it too, by the way. He drives him nuts. Maybe that's why I do it. I don't know. I don't know. We are really in a bad place right now. We are. With the shootings, with the election, with I really don't want to talk about it because, you know, I always said religion and politics I won't discuss here, but I won't religion, but the politics with what's going on, we are in. It's bad. It's bad. I was always taught to respect police officers. You know, I've encountered a couple that really weren't that happy, you know, they were having a bad day, you know, yes sir, no sir. I'm not giving you a reason to bring it to the next level, you know, and that's how they train. We're not going there, you know. My window's down, yes sir, what, you know, whatever, you know. And the mere fact that, and this is with all nationalities, white cops, black cops, Asian cops, men, women, they all treated the same. You know, some can tell me, you're doing it wrong, Tim, you know, you have rights, this and that. Well, guess what? I go home to my family every night. I've never been sprayed, tased, or shot. Yeah, I never been sprayed. Think about that. Hardly get a ticket. I don't even get written tickets, written warnings. Be careful. Thank you. Yes, sir. That's it. Swallow your pride. Swallow, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the first to verbally fist, but not with a cop, but verbally go toe to toe with somebody. Want to discuss? We'll have a disagreement, an argument, a debate. You know, there's a time to shut your mouth, and there's a time to just, yes, sir, go away. You got it. You know, I trained in martial arts for many, many years, and that's one thing we used to emphasize, because I did a lot of teaching. You know, there's a time to stand there and fist up, and there's a time to just shut. You got it. Yep. You know, and I've done that many times growing up too. You know, well, I was adult. You know, somebody wanted to fight me. I'm like, for what, man? Come on. You know, you're gonna get blood on me. It's gonna get on you. You look good tonight. You know, you're out with your girl. You know. You don't want my blood on your outfit, you know? Come on, you know? When in reality, I just saved him a hospital visit, and that's the truth, you know? Whatever. I don't have no ego, you know? Anyway. I had a really nice conversation with that officer, and you guys know there's a lot going on in the news with our police officers and this and that, and I feel there's so much I want to say, because this is really a big part of my life. I read, I watch, I listen, but at the same time, I don't want to bring that here, I guess. I don't know. I don't like what's happening. The fact that I have 2 little boys now, really, I don't like what's happening. I don't know. That's all I want to say. It's getting dark. I'm going to pack up my stuff. Got some great photos of this sheet. This is a really nice sheet. I got some other stuff from a few companies. I'm like way behind in videos. I have like a dozen videos I have to edit and get on. I just don't have any time. I have to edit and upload and whatever. So I almost didn't make it out here tonight because I got very little sleep, if any, last night. Then we drove 2 hours down to the Cape to my in-laws. Was there for hours with the kids, visiting the in-laws, and then we drove back while my kids napped, and my wife and I are exhausted. And then we get home, and I sat for a little while for the sun to kind of go down a little bit, and I'm like, oh man, I just want to get comfortable and just stay in. I can't. I got work to do. You're right. I got work to do, but it is hot. I'm gonna go home, take a really cold shower, hydrate the crap out of myself tonight, and begin my week tomorrow. I hope all of you are well. I really do appreciate you watching my videos, the vlogs, the gear reviews. There's quite a number of you now that pretty much I can count on almost every single video, and it does, trust me. I don't just upload it, you know. I care. That's all I can say is I care. All right. Be well. Stay safe. We'll talk soon. Bye.